Welcome to Generation Digital Workforce, the podcast that's here to explore the role of robotic process automation and other digital technologies. Whether you're just getting started or you're looking for advanced strategies and tactics, if you're curious about where human and digital workers are coming together to transform the future of work, then this podcast is for you. All right, let's get into the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brad Hairston with Blue Prism. I am very excited to have as my guest on the podcast today, Mr. Chris Johannessen, Digital Transformation Strategist at the consulting firm Axis Group. Chris and I recently co-authored a white paper together titled AI for the Masses, which addresses the democratization of AI to the business, and that will be the topic of our conversation. Chris, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Brad.
So why don't we start, Chris, with just an introduction from you? Why don't you tell everyone about yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Chris Johannessen here, digital transformation strategist with the consulting firm Axis Group. I have quite a bit of a history in the space of AI and automation and digital transformation. I've been doing work along these lines for close to a quarter of a century, I dare say. Cut my teeth on these capabilities back with my time at GE and spent some time at places such as eBay, Omnicom, and McKinsey and SIA Partners before joining the folks here at Axis Group. And very excited to chat with Brad today. In addition to my full-time role with Axis, I also serve as the editor of a brand new journal that's coming out early next year called the Journal of AI, Robotics, and Workplace Automation, which is being published by a firm out of the UK called Henry Stewart Publications.
Very good. Okay, Chris, so I'm going to get things going by asking you some questions. And since we're talking about a white paper that you and I, worked on together, in turn, you will have some questions for me. Let's start with this one. So why did you decide to co-author this white paper called AI for the Masses? I mean, what about this topic appealed to you?
Well, anybody who knows me knows that for a good portion of my career, I've been involved with helping making it easier for everyone within organizations to work with different types of technologies, whether it's digital marketing technology, workflow, robotic process automation, and more recently with AI. And more and more I've heard from folks that I work with. I advise folks at the C-level and middle management and down at the more operational level as well on how to use different technologies, and being asked what is AI? Can you explain all the different types of AI? How can I get going on AI faster? And fortunately, these conversations have come along as more and more platforms that are AI as a service are starting to emerge out there. And despite the availability of these platforms, people just aren't quite clear on how they can get going. So spent a little bit of time researching a bit more, and became very aware of the capabilities of Blue Prism and other automation oriented platforms out there, such as a few of the companies that we partner with at Axis Group, such as ThoughtSpot, that are taking the power of AI and making it a bit more easier to use. And with Blue Prism, the opportunity to expand the touch points of AI across the business and make it really easy for someone who's just wants to at least experiment a little bit or kick the tires, so to speak, connect to an AI as a service platform and take advantage of the capabilities and try it out and see what the benefits are and the impact for the organization.
Well, AI is certainly one of the hottest topics these days. Why is it essential to most organizations moving forward?
Well, most organizations, as anybody who pays attention to their LinkedIn feeds or their other business newsletters out there, see that more and more the different software platforms that have become really big in our worlds, notably the likes of a Google or an Amazon, are starting to encroach or get involved in their different lines of business. And one of the ways that they do that is by leveraging AI. And AI gives you by unfurling different statistically based approaches to managing and processing data, making calculations on data at speed, and enabling functions and features such as recommendation engines, personalization at scale in a marketing context, underwriting at speed for financial services firms. More and more of these companies are trying to invest in these capabilities themselves so that they could stave off not only that competitive threat, but also just to take advantage of these innovations and reduce the cost of their operations potentially, but sometimes find brand new ways to innovate and delight their customers and to improve the experience, whether it's for employees or the clients and customers that they serve.
So, Chris, what are you mentioned a few use cases of AI? What do you think are some of the more common applications of it today? And then if you could from there talk about how you think that's going to change in the years to come.
Well, the first entry point that AI seems to be having with a lot of organizations, people can wrap their head around the use of AI with text or voice for that matter. And just as we're having this conversation today, there are more and more people having conversations with AI through devices such as their phones with Siri on the Apple phone, Alexa, which is a bit amusing at times if you have children and you have an Alexa dot in the house, and they talk to Alexa and have Alexa talk back. It's just interesting just to see through their eyes how that comes to play, looking into the future a little bit, but bringing things a bit more back down to practical matters in organizations. A lot of companies are still struggling with these masses of unstructured data, whether they're in documents or text forms, or they're just trying to find new angles of improving either the customer or their employee experience with channels such as chatbots, where you can talk to an AI platform, so to speak, either with your fingertips or by talking through voice. I've seen more than one industry analyst say that this was a very big year so far for natural language processing. And Gartner, in some recent materials, predicted that bringing things very close to what I do now and the work that I do with data and analytics at organizations in the U.S. and around the world, is Gartner predicting that by 2022, roughly 65% of analytical queries will be generated by search, natural language processing, or voice. And and then of course the returns of those queries will be returned either. It's either going to be you're going to be interacting at that level, or you're going to get the returns through one of those channels. Say typing into a chat bot that might go through an RPA tool, which might in turn go out and query an analytics platform and bring you back some results, as might happen, say, if you've ever interacted with a chatbot on a banking website. There are a number of pioneers in the space driving the use of chatbots in financial services settings. Bank of America, for example, has gotten quite a bit of buzz in the AI space with their, I believe the chatbot's name is Erica, and that chatbot has gone from pilot mode in one U.S. state to being used across the country with considerable success and fanfare. Or you think about with one of the vendors that we work very closely with at Access Group, ThoughtSpot has a different way of interacting with analytics and data, which is through a natural language chat interface within the platform, which is seen as potentially a faster way to do instead of visually driven data discovery, as you might do with a traditional BI platform. You're doing data discovery through the power of your fingertips and potentially your voice. If someone has managed to engineer, say, getting Alexa set up with their ThoughtSpot tool. So that's a common application just generically. And then, as I alluded to very briefly, this idea in the marketing context, for example, more and more firms are aggressively investing in AI to do things like automatically score you depending on how you interact in a marketing channel as a first-time visitor, and putting you in different buckets, whether you're learning or you're interested, or you might be a qualified lead or an MQL, as they like to say in the marketing space, a marketing qualified lead, and moving you along that conversation where, as they see someone say, I'll just bring up the Blue Prism website, for example. Potentially there might be a module there that, depending on how often you visited that website, paired with some other data that a marketing tool might have integrated to get some kind of insights into your persona or some attributes about you, show you different types of content to try to lead you down the journey of actually filling out a form to do Contact Us, or with the ads that follow people around the internet and sometimes creep them out. So there is that risk. You have to be a bit careful in the AI space with, I've seen companies be a bit over aggressive in using retargeting, for example, where you might land on a website and 5 minutes later you get an ad in your Facebook feed. So I hear that from family on more than a recurring basis.
Interesting. Well, good. Well, those are all really interesting examples. So let me ask you about this. The recent surveys, especially some taken this year, have revealed that a number of AI projects have really, failed to meet expectations. Why is that?
I think part of it is, again, some people just don't understand the use cases. What are the real opportunities for AI? There's always those examples of the folks who just get attracted to a shiny object and write a big check for it, and then the shiny object just sits on a shelf. And then part of that too is the lack of knowledge with understanding AI vendors well enough to make sure you select the right vendor for your use case in the first place. So those are a few of the factors. I know we dive into some of these in a little bit more detail in the context of the paper that we put together.
Yes, sir. So as AI becomes more and more commonplace across the enterprise, do you believe this is going to lead to new skill sets and new types of jobs emerging, beyond the data scientist role?
Yes, definitely, for sure. We're already seeing that. One of the podcasts that I like to follow outside of this one is called This Week in Machine Learning and AI. And the host of that platform, that podcast, Sam Charrington, I had a chance to see him at a industry event, and he's been driving some conversations around this idea of creating AI platforms for running all of your AI across an organization. And it's still something that people are piecing together. The cloud vendors are, of course, trying to scramble and put all these puzzle pieces out there so people can use AI and run their applications all on the same cloud platform. But some organizations like to invest in their own platforms because they feel that their secret sauce is baked into the algorithms that might be powered by AI. Less technical role and further up the ranks, I expect to see roles, and seen some of this out there already. There's been some conversations not too long ago about the idea of an analytics translator, someone who can navigate the terrain between the business and the data and help them understand which approaches to take with analytics. There's definitely going to be a need for something like an AI translator. There are people like that out there playing that role as best they can. And seen some other things already emerging. This idea of conversational workflow, as I mentioned, the interaction with chat or voice, like we're doing right now, we're having a conversation. A lot of work out there in the real world happens that way. You don't have a software tool that you're logging into and typing in a form and waiting for the form to get approved by the next person. You might have a conversation with a leader or a colleague in your office, and they approve something, and then you can go off and do whatever that task is. So there's some of that is being brought into the context of chatbots in the form of conversational workflow, and I'm seeing roles out there of a conversational workflow designer, which it's interesting to see these folks a little bit like sometimes like writing a script for a movie or TV show. Sometimes there's some design elements where they're trying to use process maps or other design metaphors, such as are used in design thinking, to design conversations, and out of that look at the decision trees, where people might, based off of a conversation, say yes, no, do this or do that, and then to bring all that into an AI platform. I mentioned the Bank of America example earlier. I know they've, at least from industry news accounts that I've read not too long ago, invested in a bit of a workforce to feed and maintain their AI chatbot. And I wouldn't doubt that they have a few of these conversational designers on their staff, if not with official titles. At least it's as part of their role.
Interesting. So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your journal that you're launching, the Journal of AI, Robotics, and Workplace Automation?
Sure thing. It's been gestating for about 2 or 3 years. Finally came to life. One of the advantages of working in the current environment that we all live and are trying to stay healthy in, with life in a time of coronavirus, to paraphrase or quote an old a book title. Everybody, I think, knows what the book is. And gave me the opportunity to put a little bit of night and weekend time that was spent in the past on trains, planes, automobiles, river ferries, everything but submersibles, and bring this journal to life with Henry Stewart Publications in the UK. The idea of the Journal of AI, Robotics, and Workplace Automation, Henry Stewart Publication, it's a company that's been very successful in Europe, and more has been getting quite a bit of traction in the US with this idea of journals that are more vocational versus academic. And what that means is practitioners, such as people who are listening to this podcast and might be on the business side or working at technology vendors, can share their innovations in a academic context. It's got some of the rigor of academia, but not as entirely rigorous as you might see in a traditional academic journal. But there is academic involvement. We do have folks from academia involved in our editorial board, as well as folks from industry, folks from not only technology vendors, but also who work in different organizations such as advertising, financial services, consumer packaged goods, e-commerce. And we do aspire to have some folks from the nonprofit sector, also the government sector as well. And the idea for the journal, it is very broad-based, but it is to facilitate conversations that are a bit more deeper around topics such as AI, robotics, which means software robotics as well as hardware robotics, and different techniques or concerns in using automation in a workplace setting.
Great. We look forward to the launch of that journal. It's going to be very, I think, insightful and interesting to a lot of different groups. So thank you. Thanks for telling us about that. So Chris, I'm going to hand the control of the mic, so to speak, over to you and let you ask me some questions, and then we'll kind of bring it to closure here.
Sounds great. We'll have human chats before the chatbots replace us, right?
That's right.
So first question I'll tee up to you here, Brad, and the folks at Blue Prism. From your perspective, what do you folks see as the missing link with AI?
Yes, the missing link. Well, that clearly was the focus of our white paper, that we put together recently. I think, many organizations, as you've just described, are using AI, but a lot of them are using it in a vacuum or in a silo. They have a team of data scientists, or perhaps, it's a continuous improvement organization that's utilizing cognitive technologies, and they're getting some nice wins every now and then, but it's pretty modest compared to what they could be doing. There was a survey at the end of last year by MIT and BCG that said that something like 70% of the companies they surveyed reported very minimal or no impact from AI. And among the 90% of companies that have made some kind of investment in AI, fewer than 2 out of 5 reported gains from AI over the past 3 years. So while AI is all the buzz, the return on investment is just not there yet. So back to your question, the missing link, I firmly believe, is connecting AI to business processes, which really, if you think about it, it allows you to apply the power of AI at scale. That to me, and that to Blue Prism, is a big gap in the market. And if you think about AI, technologies, one thing that's very common among them, no matter what flavor you're talking about, they need lots and lots of data, both structured data and unstructured, and they need it in certain form, they need it at a certain time, and they need it in a frequent, they need it to be served up frequently. That's a lot of effort to do that, and to do that well. And that's just one example of, of something that digital workers can do, and can do with great efficiency. So AI can be helped tremendously by the digital workforce, and digital workers in turn can get a lot of benefit from AI. It can allow them to do, even a greater and more complex set of activities on behalf of organizations. So you used a lot of examples earlier. I'll just add a few. We have clients using digital workers to analyze video or maybe pictures, and feed them to machine learning engines to see where maintenance may be required. Let the algorithms of AI process all that information. But again, the digital workers are serving that up. And that can allow companies to understand, where they need to go and maintain equipment in the field, whatever that may be. You also have a growing utilization of digital workers combined with cybersecurity solutions that are, AI enabled. So sorting through, false positives that a cyber application, may surface. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of manual work just to get through those and understand where you may have fraudulent activity. And digital workers can do that very, very quickly and efficiently. and then you mentioned chatbots a few times, Chris. Chatbots are really good nowadays at gathering information, interacting with consumers to address either an informational need or to, implement some type of change in enterprise systems. Well, digital workers can grab that information from chatbots, go and do whatever's required, and then come back and interact with those chatbots and provide that information back to the customer. And AI is the glue now that's making all of that happen without any or very limited human involvement. So we're clearly in a new era of automation, intelligent automation. We're way beyond RPA. In fact, I think it's time we move away from that acronym. And yes, I'm saying that as a member of Blue Prism, the organization that pioneered this space and also came up with the RPA term. But it's a whole new ballgame now.
That's a rather profound statement to say there, that you're willing to get away from that acronym as we look towards the future of automation here.
Yeah.
In terms of that future, what is Blue Prism doing to make these AI services more accessible?
So we have a technology alliance program that essentially takes a best of breed approach. We have been partnering with the top solutions in their respective space, whether it's NLP or it's OCR or it's process mining, whatever the specific area. We have gone after the best and the most prolific solutions in that space, and we formed relationships with them that allow us to do a lot of co-branding and joint marketing together. But also, more importantly, it's allowed us to begin to explore the art of the possible. So we've built a lot of demos and solutions that demonstrate our technologies working together. Imagine what a digital worker would be able to do combined with this technology or multiple technologies. So we've really, I think the more the better. We are going to continue to expand our ecosystem. It's already expanded greatly over the last couple of years. And the way that we serve up or we make it easy for companies to access these skills is through our digital exchange, which is our marketplace, or you could call it an app store for Blue Prism. So these automations and the connectors to them are being developed and submitted to the DX from our partners, from employees, from consulting firms, and even from some of our customers. We have customers of Blue Prism that have developed automations that they've made available on the DX. And so it's a very powerful medium for providing access, making it simple to access these skills when they're needed.
Do you and your colleagues at Blue Prism think there will be a huge convergence of technologies such as AI in the digital workforce, so to speak, in the decade to come?
Not necessarily. I mean, while there have been some moves in recent years by some of the larger tech players, to kind of grow the feature functionality of their product set, I think the market tends to gravitate to the best of breed players in each space. And at Blue Prism, for example, we are not trying to be all things to all people. We're going to continue to enhance our platform and add certain capabilities to it over time. We've launched some new things this year on that note, but our focus is on cultivating and continuing to expand our ecosystem of partners. There's strength in numbers, and I think our customers really value that approach.
So to bring things towards a close here, Brad, an amazing conversation today. And like I said, it's great to be chatting human to human. What do companies need to do to begin the intelligent automation journey from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I think it starts by just getting educated on intelligent automation. There's so much you can read, you can absorb just from the internet alone. There's online training. Blue Prism provides a lot of courses that you can take that's free of charge, and just be open to talking to companies in the AI realm. The brainstorming that can happen in the context of those conversations is really remarkable. And we've seen, customers of Blue Prism that have started doing that more and more, and they're coming out of these sessions with, specific solution ideas to solve specific problems. And that's really exciting to see. So the ecosystem is really bearing fruit. I think strong leadership is also critical to an intelligent automation journey. Having one or more C-suite executives who believe that the future of work is a combination of human workers, digital workers, and AI services is really fundamental. And the sponsor has got to be a person that understands that this is a transformational capability. It's not just a technology or a widget that you're adding to the footprint. And I think the final thing I would say is it's also a good idea to get outside help. And this is not a plug for Chris and his company, although they can do great things themselves. But it is I think a great area to have an outside perspective to bring the experience and the cross-industry expertise from outside firms, from advisories, for example, to help a company shape the right roadmap, to prioritize opportunities, appropriately, and to get the journey started on the right note. A lot of times companies try to do it themselves, and they have a false start, or they start with something that's too complex and it loses all momentum. So I think having an advisor to kind of get you organized and get you launched on the right foot is a great idea. Having spent nearly 30 years in the consulting arena myself prior to joining Blue Prism, of course I had to make that point, but I do think it's something that is very important. So Chris, I do appreciate the dialogue with you today. Thank you for joining me. It's been fun. Not only asking you questions, it's also been fun getting some questions. I think this may be the first time in a podcast that I've taken questions from my guest, but in this case, I'll take it. So thank you for that, and I appreciate all of your insights, and hope that you will be well, my friend.
So I hope everyone out there stays healthy as well and continues to learn, subscribing to this podcast as well as the This Week in Machine Learning and AI podcast that I mentioned earlier. And of course, feel free to visit axisgroup.com.
You've been listening to Generation Digital Workforce. If you want to hear more about RPA, AI, and other cognitive technologies that are shaping the future of work, join us next time as we continue to go deeper on these topics with industry innovators and experts. To make sure you never miss a future episode, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. And if you've liked what you heard today, please leave us a review. It's one of the best ways to help more people find valuable content. For show notes and more info, visit us at blueprism.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.